Right on time. How is your morning going there?
It's great. It's going really well. We just had a meeting. We're doing some exciting things at MSG. We're doing a whole Bedapalooza week of shows, 6 days a week. So we just had a meeting about that. I'm pretty excited about.
Wow. Well, leading into it, when I was a kid, the closest you got to like sports betting was people would be, hey, my cousin has a Super Bowl betting pool. Like that
Yep.
is as far as it went. In the last like 10 years, we've seen the sports world embrace fantasy football. When did you start to notice the tide change that not only could you talk about sports betting, but you were publicly commended for like knowing that stuff?
Yeah, and I will say it's so funny that you said that because there is the traditional way of thinking about sports gambling and even the term degenerate. I feel like it's because it's totally changed. The word degenerate now is a loving term that gamblers will call each other when I think the history of it is, like you said, it's the weird uncle that goes to the shady bar that maybe his knees are going to get broken off if he doesn't
Yeah.
pay his bookie. Sorry for my dog here interrupting us, getting some water there. But now, and I really think this happened when it became legalized, when it became up to the states, once that passed in Congress, and you started seeing it kind of infiltrate different communities. And it really is a younger community now of gamblers, a younger, more savvy, and it's really a form of entertainment. It's not this dark, seedy thing. And I always like to call myself lovingly, a degenerate in nice packaging because it really is kind of a loving thing. And I think that this newer generation of gamblers are younger. They're looking for more entertainment. It is more fun. It's certainly more accepted as a form of entertainment rather than something seedy. So it's been a huge change, and I think probably in about 2017, once it started becoming legalized in states, that's when we saw the shift.
Yeah, also growing up as a big Howard Stern fan, one of the
Yeah,
things that they would get people on is, oh, he's such a degenerative
yeah,
gambler. That was a quirk that they put on people. And as you pointed out, it used to be the, oh, my uncle knows a guy at the
yeah.
OTB, and now it's a classy thing. People go, you know what? I'm going to go to Vegas for a weekend and hang out and watch the games and bet. So when
Yeah.
did you realize that you had a knack for not just numbers, but numbers in the sports world?
So I've always been a huge sports fan, specifically in the NFL. I'm a big diehard 49ers fan. I was living in Los Angeles at the time, still a season ticket holder for the Niners, going there all the time. And like you said, fantasy football is really the gateway drug, if you will, or how you dip your toe into gambling. And I think what people really appreciate about fantasy football and also gambling is it broadens your view, right? So for me, as a huge 49ers fan, I could tell you anything about the 49ers, and I could tell you a lot about the NFC West. Now, I couldn't really tell you a lot of AFC players outside of Tom Brady and the big ones. And what fantasy has done and what also gambling has done is it's really broadened your view, and it's more fun now to watch games that maybe your team isn't playing or it's a division that you don't care about. It's fun to have a little bit of skin in the game. And now I know so much more about one, the game, and two, different players and different teams. So it makes everything more enjoyable.
We were connected by the wonderful, wonderful folks at MSG.
Yes.
How long did you have to keep it a secret that you had this great show coming out?
A second, a second, Darren. Literally, I was on vacation when I got the call to try out basically for the show to be one of the hosts. I was on vacation with my family in Wisconsin. I ended up rerouting my vacation, coming in and interviewing with MSG and doing a demo. And the next week I was on air. So it was really, really fast. But of course, this was Labor Day weekend. So they were trying to get the shows up and running in time for football season. But it was a whirlwind and really just so exciting and so great. And I'm so glad that it happened so fast because I'd be dying to tell people if I had to hold on to it.
Yeah, well, going back to the grandpa Darren here, back in his day, when I was growing up, the MSG network was pretty much the local sports teams, maybe WWF, monthly from the Garden. That's pretty much all it was. And then in recent years, we've seen it have great roundtable programming, the occasional concert, lots of fun entertainment. Did you grow up on MSG network programming?
So I'm from California, so I did not grow up on MSG programming. Had I lived here, I definitely would. But I do want to speak to what you just said and that, and kind of the evolving involvement of the company. And it's so exciting to be with a company like MSG because, look, there's so many sports networks right now, and a lot of people don't have their finger on the pulse, specifically when it comes to gambling. And like I mentioned, this newer version of gamblers, this younger audience, these people that are craving entertainment. A lot of the content that you see right now, specifically with sports betting, is very analytical. It's very numbers driven, and it's a little bit intimidating for people who aren't into gambling or don't understand it, or it's just not that entertaining to watch for this newer generation. And I'll give a lot of credit to MSG because with the shows that they've put together, Odds with Ends, The Betting Exchange, which of course I host, and The Better Half Hour, it's what I like to call wagertainment. It's really for this newer audience that's one, getting into sports gambling, and two, likes to be entertained. And MSG is the only network that I've seen that's doing that. So it's really exciting.
You, Jeff, and Eric, great chemistry on screen. How much of that is prep versus you're just good people who can hang?
You know what? Obviously, all credit to the producers for putting good shows together in terms of the rundown. But you know what? We really like each other a lot, and our chemistry is great. And we all have different personalities. And we bring different things. Jeff, of course, is the New York local. They can talk about New York sports until he's blue in the face, and he'll still have all kinds of fun stats and fun things to talk about. And of course, Eric, being a former player, he gives us insight that we could never possibly have. One of the things he said to me, which I couldn't believe, obviously he was a defender, was on the defense, is that when it's really, really cold outside, sometimes defenders will purposely miss a block because it's too cold. I would have never thought that. But of course, now I can use that into my gambling. Okay, it's a really cold day. Maybe this defense isn't going to get the stops that I thought they were going to get. And then, of course, me, I'm the gambler. I'm the authentic gambler, if you will. I've been doing this for a few years now, so I can bring that to the table.
Wow, a lot to unpack with that one.
Yeah.
Are you the person to bring to a bar trivia night?
When it comes to this sports and gambling, I would say yes. I would say yes. Certainly, if anything is on the 49ers, I got you. I got you 100%.
But no other surprise topics that you excel at, like sports?
Well, here's the thing, and what I'm really passionate about is women in sports and sports media. And I feel like right now, women are an untapped resource I think it's, now I'm not sure if this stat is 100% accurate, but I did hear that the gambling market is about 35% women, which is higher than anybody thought, but there's really no content that is geared towards women. And even when you think about women's roles on these sports shows, it makes it easier for women to watch and a little bit more comfortable, but we're not there necessarily for women. A lot of the times it's for men. And so what I'm passionate about is bringing gambling and sports content that's geared towards women, that's a little bit softer. So I would say, one of my talents is really just being a real girl. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but like you said, I'm all about sports, and every Sunday I'm screaming at my television like one of the boys. But then after that, I'll watch Emily in Paris or The Real Housewives or of wherever. So I like to have both sides of it, where I'm kind of a girly girl and then I'm all about sports and gambling.
Rather than saying a real girl, I say a good hang. That's what you are.
Exactly. And I take that back, please. I don't want to say real girl because all of us are real. There's no real girl versus whatever. But yes, I will agree with you. I am a very good hang.
So credit goes to you on being a good hang, because not everyone can be a good hang. And credit also goes to you in having a career that didn't exist 10 years ago. Because when you think about many of the careers that people have in the media landscape right now, imagine Marv Albert explaining to him in like 1997, okay, so there's these people who come on TV and they give you the probability of the win here. And like, so they're the athlete. No. But, so it's just one of those careers where totally foreign to people years ago. But what was the plan B? Was it, I'm going to be a media personality and this fell in your lap?
No, so complete opposite. So I had been working in public relations for 15 years. I'd worked predominantly in fashion and beauty, and then I transitioned into film. And I always loved sports. And to be quite honest, I wasn't really happy in public relations, probably for the last 5 or 7 years, but I'd worked myself up, to be a director and all of these things. I thought, what am I going to do? I'm going to start over. And I think a lot of people get in that rut where we feel stuck in our career just because we've been doing it for so long, and starting something new feels so scary. So I always knew knew that I was into sports. I knew I had the gift of gab and that I like to give my analysis on things. So I just basically started an Instagram account, Katie Mox Bets, and I started to give my game analysis on picks every single week. And it started to grow. And I realized, hey, I could actually do this. And then when the pandemic hit, I was working in film. We were doing PR for movies. And of course, there were no movies coming out. So there was no need for PR and marketing for those movies. And I got laid off like a lot of Americans did. And I really took that as an opportunity. Okay, let's make this happen. Let's do this. At what other time would you be able to work full time in PR and then also transition into a new field? And so I gave myself a timeline that by football season of this year, I will have transitioned. And of course, as I just told you, it was Labor Day weekend right before the football season where I got this.
Wow. It's wonderful to hear that you were successfully able to reinvent yourself on a timeline. Usually you get 2 out of those 3, not 3 out of 3.
Yeah, I was very lucky, but I will say the first step is the hardest, right? It's like I didn't even know where to start or what to do. And I was so nervous to create an Instagram account because I thought I would look lame or people wouldn't like it or whatever it was. It's so scary to make that first step. And then once you start doing it, you realize it's not actually that scary. And as cheesy as this is, I mean, my eyes are rolling even thinking about it coming out of my mouth, but you can really be anyone and do anything you want in this world. All you have to do is try. And I am a testament to that.
And going back to what I was saying with the career path that didn't exist, you're also not somebody that can go, well, that person did it, so I'm going to do it. You don't have that Mount Rushmore of success stories within this field. So it is your own path. You're here. You've got a show that people talk about. It's incredible to see that you're pulling this off. Long term, you don't have to tell me what it is, but do you have that plan in the back of your mind now that you got to this point where you're going, okay, there's going to be that second show, the third show, production company, etc. Do you have a long-term plan, even if it is a secret?
I do. I have a long-term. Here's the thing about me is that I always know exactly who I am and I know exactly where I'm going. And the thing is that I am different. I'm in a different field. I'm never going to be an Erin Andrews on the sideline. I don't have the traditional media background, much like you just said, but I think I have a really unique voice and I bring something different to the table. And without aging myself here, the way that I see myself is one, I like obviously working with MSG because I do feel like they have their finger on the pulse of this wagertainment. I know I keep saying that word, but it's really important, I think, to the new movement of sports betting.
Is that because you trademarked wagertainment?
I did not. It's not mine. I actually heard it once in an interview, and I thought that's the greatest word that describes what we're trying to do here. And so I think that there's going to be a lot of different content. And right now, as it's becoming legalized, there's so much money in sports gambling. People are trying to get in on the action, but they don't necessarily know how to do it. And what I credit MSG with and where I see myself going is really trying to think differently about the entertainment side of things, because you do have these traditional shows that, like I said, extremely analytical, a lot of hard numbers. It's intimidating for people to get into. So where I see myself as someone more of like, again, not to date myself, but like a Jenny McCarthy on a Singled Out from MTV in the 90s, where they're knowledgeable, they're respected, but they're really fun. And they want to bring out the entertainment and the joy of all of this, because sports gambling is a form of entertainment. Now you have to bet responsibly. Okay. We can get into bankroll management and all of those things. Bet responsibly, because sports gambling should be a form of entertainment at the very most. And I want to bring out that entertaining side of it. So one, I want to continue doing that, host some kind of, as it continues to evolve, more entertainment shows. And again, very, very passionate about creating content that is geared towards women. And I am in talks with a podcast and certain things coming out that I'm going to do just that.
Before I ask you the last 2 quick questions here, you referenced Singled Out. And I'm going to say this non-ironically here. Everybody from Singled Out became a mega star and no one talks about that. Okay, so Jenny McCarthy, multimedia success. Chris Hardwick at one point had shows on 4 different networks at the same time.
Yes.
Armin Electra, who replaced Jenny McCarthy.
Yes.
Piano Boy John Ernst. is a big music supervisor.
I love that you know all of the cast, by the way. You're my people. At first, because sometimes I say this to younger generations and they're like, yeah, singled out. I don't really know that. But, for people, I'm going to guess that we're in the same category here. It was generational shifting, that show. And so I want to be a part of something like that. I want to be a part of something in sports gambling that's going to really kind of change the narrative and make it fun and entertaining, but also worthwhile.
Well, that kind of leads into my next question, which is the second to last one, which is when I speak to people from the sports world, their mind is going 24/7 on sports, but there's always another hobby that's the next best thing. Like, for example, when I spoke with Hannah Storm, I figured out she was a classic rock DJ before she made it.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
In the sports world, what's your next hobby below, say, math, gambling, sports?
Yeah, well, math is not my strong suit. I'll go ahead and say that. I use the calculator, I use the odds, all of those things. But it's just so awful to even admit this. I'm a couch potato. I could sit and binge watch everything all day, and I love to walk my dog. But when it comes down to it, I'm either watching sports and getting into that, analytical side of my brain, or I'm just totally lounging. And I feel like it's kind of an untapped or an underappreciated hobby that people have, because people always think that they got to keep doing something always. It's like that, the bigger, better. If I'm not busy, I'm a loser or whatever it is. And for me, I enjoy myself. My hobby is that I relax.
Related to that, the last question, besides the betting exchange, do you have a TV recommendation for someone who needs a new show to start?
For sports gambling?
In general, let's break the stereotype here and say it's not an NFL show. Do you have a TV recommendation? I could give you 20 of them right now. Give me one.
Well, okay. There's like I said earlier, there's so many different sides of my brain. There's the girly girl side, and then there's, the sports side. Obviously, I've been watching okay, you said not NFL, so I'm not going to say that one. But like Emily in Paris, I love watching Emily in Paris. I grew up in the Sex and the City days, and I know there's a lot of controversy. A lot of people don't like, and just like that. But I will say it is getting better. I love that. I watch it all the time. I literally watch every single Real Housewives that Bravo's ever put out. I absolutely love Bravo. I am a reality TV junkie, but then I love like the HBO shows as well. The Undoing with Nicole Kidman is incredible. Mayor of Easttown, which I think was on Showtime, or no, it was on HBO as well, with Kate Winslet. I love a murder documentary. Oh man, I mean, I'm a girl, right? So that's always like the funny thing. Is like girls love these crazy serial killer murder documentaries, and yeah, that's me. I will watch every single one of those.
Well, kudos goes to you on not only being entertaining, not only saying this is what I'm going to do and doing it, but I applaud the fact that you go highbrow and lowbrow with such ease. You alternate between the two. So, Katie, thank you for being you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This was such a pleasure to speak with you, and I look forward to hopefully working together again.
Paltrocast.